Brian back with another episode of the Blurting While Dad live stream. I gotta keep it. I gotta keep this one. I gotta condense the nonsense, keep it short and sweet on this one. So I'm about to scroll my banner, looking for it right now. Gotta keep it short this week, just because I'm taxi service tonight. So that's what my gig is, and comedy air is getting on, but I also had some business stuff to take care of, and so we're keeping it short and sweet. I'm going to try to hit everything I have in my outline tonight. I know that that's been kind of a what is it, a wild goose chase. So this week, we're going to talk about what's happened, the shenanigans between Lindsey Graham and Dark Money Mitch. We're going to talk about the fear of the black Smarty pants and my just experience with it. And I'm going to put kind of a spin on it because I really don't want it to be, I'm this super intellectual, nobody's on my level kind of thing. I'm going to talk about how we frame intelligent and learned black people, and how they've kind of how they discussed, or how people categorize them, or how people even talk about them. And we're going to talk about why are people so serious. And I think it goes back to the death of nuance, where we don't really have nuanced conversations about stuff. And it really does, my response, like people responding when I do my comic book takes. A lot of my stuff when it comes to comic books, I've been reading comic books for so long, y'all. A lot of my takes are really dripping with sarcasm, and oftentimes I will intentionally make reductive points or use some kind of verbal shorthand, just to kind of reduce the conversation and shrink it down. And it's really not because I don't know or I'm unfamiliar with lore, or sometimes I may be talking about a comic book that has 80 years of lore, and it's impossible to know every single wrinkle of it, since, I haven't been alive for half of the comic book run. But oftentimes, when I make comic book takes on here, people take my really sarcastic shit and are really literal with it, like really, really literal with it. And I got some pushback on the entire Jason Todd thing, where I got a lot of actually about Jason Todd and wondering why CPS wasn't looking for him. If you can't tell, that's a sarcastic statement. And people were dead serious on correcting me on it. So I wanted to touch base about that. Hey, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. So that's what I want to do tonight. Is it's a little bit more freeform or whatnot. We can talk about the issues of the day. I don't have a ton of time, so that's what we're going to get into. Top of the show. Let's talk about what the elephants in the room. The sickness of whatever Mitch McConnell was going through. That AI looking image. I don't know. Like I can't really define. I can't really see if it's AI or not. I played around with it. It is really easy to mock up, and use AI to mock the image, and so that kind of leads me to believe that it may be an AI generated image of Mitch McConnell in the hospital waving like the happy tortoise at the camera, and then him being hospitalized, and then the passing of Lindsey Graham, which was a sudden thing, and I've seen a lot of takes on it, and I have my own feelings regarding dude. I am not here to tell somebody that their take is wrong about it, but I do have my own takes about it, and so I wanted to spend a little bit of time on it. Okay, so and then that's what I'll get into this week. So, top of the show, Lindsey Graham died July 11th. He's 71 years old. And Mitch McConnell still recovering from, they say he had a fall and pneumonia and all kinds of other stuff related to that. Yeah, I just saw that one. I haven't had enough time to read to have enough of an informed opinion to put it on the show, but it's an absolute mess. It is a rumbling shit show right now. And not only that, but then we're going to have he's having another meeting where he's going to attempt to avoid the election of 2021. From Georgia, at least he's going to try to avoid that and say that election was illegitimate, based on, I don't know what administrative power the executive office has to declare an election null and void. That should be troubling to people, but it's not. It's not, because people really don't understand the different functions and different um, powers within government. They don't understand the legislative, judicial branch, or the executive branch, where their powers begin or end. So we're about to head into this has got to be like chapter 48 of our constitutional crisis that we're currently in, where one branch is in active rebellion against the entire system. He's gonna launch a soft war at NATO. I got some takes on that one. Yeah, I made it, Maddie. I literally had to run. I ran into every technical difficulty you can have, and I do have a kid to pick up by 9. So this has got to be short and sweet. So this might be a fully political one, and I'll save the rest of my stuff for next week. But here's the thing, y'all. So on top of the show, Lindsey Graham dies, and social media does the social media thing. People are mad at people on social media because they're like, I don't give a shit about Lindsey Graham. Not like they don't care. And that's okay. Thank you. And there's Trump losing Graham might have lost his bit. Yeah, he's crashing out right now. Like he's doing wild shit right now. He had that real good blackmail material over Lindsey Graham. And the crazy part is, we know there's nothing that they can say Lindsey Graham had hidden that we didn't really know, unless there's some illegal stuff going on. But like the stuff I think that they were trying to blackmail him with has been common knowledge, inside the Beltway. And it's not a secret. This the life that nobody cares. But he was really big deal for him. And Trump was really blackmailing him, and he lost his leverage with that seat. Losing McConnell was a blow, right? Yeah, it was illegal shit. There was illegal shit going on. But all the sex workers that have mentioned that Lindsey Graham has come up with, and all the bartenders and stuff in DC, like they talk, and a lot of the stuff that they thought was like the stuff he thought was really devastating. Everybody know, like it's the worst kept secret out of all of them. I'm sorry to hear that. I really am. We'll extend a prayer out to you and your family, but I'm sorry. I'm really sorry to hear that. It's one of those things where you don't really have the right words, and I've experienced the sudden loss of somebody about a year ago, and it's something that you're never quite over the shock, but especially with something so sudden and so abrupt, that's awful. I'm really sorry. But yeah, our prayers are with you as a show, and if anybody's out there watching, let's please include was it JD in your prayers. So the thing with this entire Lindsey Graham thing is people are really, really mad on both sides of it. Like the people that are the decorum people and the way things are done, and this is decorum. The people that are really big about it, they are mad because about how people are reacting to Lindsey Graham's passing, and a lot of people, his legislation harmed a lot of people. Like there's a lot of people that lost loved ones. We lost it. Like the insurance that I was carrying as a business owner for me and my kids, that became unaffordable overnight. Like it went away because they ended the subsidy, and it was almost like 20 or 30 times, if I can remember correctly, what I was paying overnight. And so fortunately we had an ability to pivot off of that, but there's a lot of people that were left in the wind and not knowing how they're going to pay for their health care. And so A lot of people don't really feel any sympathy and compassion for Lindsey Graham, and I don't necessarily blame them. But on the other side, um, for the people that are inside the Beltway and the people that are his colleagues and coworkers, they're going to feel a certain way about it. And I think there's a generational thing that even if we disagree, we have to be cordial to each other. We're too polarized for that right now, and so there are people that are excoriating whatever politician for extending sympathies and trying to say kind words about Lindsey Graham, and others that are mad because people aren't saying enough kind words about it. It's a weird. We're in this weird political environment. I remember getting chastised for not really caring that the Queen of England died, and pointing out, look at ask a Kenyan or Nigerian how they feel about the Queen of England. Ask a Scottish person how they feel about the Queen of England. So okay, let me catch up here. So I'm trying to hustle fast. All right. Don't feel guilty. Yeah, grieve however you want, and don't let anybody rush you through that process. Um, sometimes it's a delayed onset. Sometimes sometimes you feel guilty for not feeling bad enough, and your own grief is the way that it happens. There is no right or wrong way. Yeah, those people aren't your friends. They're not. Those are not your friends. Those people are not your friends. Um, I would say that's enough. That reaction is enough to reevaluate your entire friend group. Also, BC should make a comment on that. She's she's black. They don't keep that energy. Yeah, the RGB thing. I think, but there you got to understand that generation still does exist, and they still do have some political influence, and so their voice does. They do have a voice in the marketplace of ideas about this stuff. I'm not really big about if somebody's an awful person in life and does awful things that in death they're suddenly redeemed. If you are an asshole in your life, you pass, you're still an asshole. Now, do I have to sit there and spit on your name every single time it comes up? Depends on what you did. But the reality is, for me, that kind of energy is best directed towards the living. Even though Reagan, I make an exception for Ronald Reagan every single time. I think someone should do the math on how many deaths Lindsay responsible for. Right. I think the way that we frame politics in America is really, really weird. Um, there is a generation of older politicians where they truly view it as sports. It's sports for them. And they've been disconnected from the mainstream of society for long enough that it's my team versus your team. And whatever my team does right is okay, and whatever your team does wrong is just part of the game. And I'm gonna sit here and wag my finger at you, but we all shake hands at the end of the match. And for a lot of people that lived under how polarized our system became, specifically, and I don't want to just say that it's a recent phenomenon. I'm talking about heading out of the Clinton era, even heading into it, Clinton era, um, Bush too. It was really polarized at that point. And this, we're going to all shake hands and be friends and kumbaya stuff across the aisle. Um, it started to get very, very vicious around that time. And I think that it was just a natural extension. And then Obama gets in and everybody loses their mind. Like the whole, like a lot of people, it broke a lot of people's brains in this country. And it kind of goes into the other segment I have, which is called Fear of the Black Smarty Pants. I may or may not get to it. That may be something keep tucked. Yeah. And but I think people were mad because RBG was truly the embodiment of that person that held on. Everybody was saying, "Hey, you should step down," when there's the ability for you to step down. And she went ahead and held on to her power until she died in office, and we're kind of stuck with the outcome of that. And um, people aren't happy about it, and we see that with old politicians not wanting to give up that power. just don't feel it. Yeah, you can tell somebody's. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, she was the last. We're friends in the ends kind of government, and I do for a long time. I thought that was bullshit. I mean, I even have a friend I came up with and worked with who is a kind of conservative hippie, if you will. That makes sense. Um, and we'll have our debates and everything, but there are hard lines that we draw, hard lines I draw at least around it, and say, nah, this ain't political gang banging. Y'all ain't the Bloods and Crips and stuff like that. Like we ain't moving like that. We're not gonna have conversations like that, because the politics that don't make a difference to you impact my life in a very real way. When you're black or marginalized or any kind of group that is marginalized in this country, um, your your humanity is on the ballot every election cycle. Because he was like, well, it's just politics. We shouldn't let this come between us. And it's like, yeah, but my existence as a black person is inherently political. I use it like this: a movie can come out with an all white cast, and it's just a movie. A movie comes out with all black cast, it's political, and that's just how the game runs. And so, black existence in this country is political in and of itself. I can't speak for other groups. I can only speak to what I know. Listen, the entire Daniel Cormier thing, I'm baffled by it. My wife is baffled by it. We should have more than two parties. I do believe that, but in this system, the way that the system is fragmented and segmented, right now we've created this entire thing. We only have two duopoly, and the problem with that is, you know, oftentimes you'll have people that are outside of the specific parties, and the only way to add a third party is essentially hijack the platform of an existing party. And so that's what I mean. That's MAGA literally cannibalized the conservatives, because when I was coming up, there were it was the religious right. I remember that. The compassionate conservative, that was really a good marketing term, and that was complete and utter bullshit. Because the compassionate conservatives let New Orleans drown. And then the Tea Party movement, where those people were dressing up like the man on the oatmeal, on Quaker Oats oatmeal, they're dressing up and protesting about some vague thing that they lost. They lost the ability, they lost their God-given right, their constitutional right to have a white president, and so they took it to the streets. And so they decided to dress up like the Quaker Oats man and go protest that. Um, and then eventually that was allowed to roam free enough. The Koch brothers unleashed the Frankenstein monster of the Tea Party on everybody, and then it morphed into the MAGA movement. And the MAGA movement devoured all the boring fiscal Republicans that used to exist. Republican Party used to be like Mitt Romney, and even he, as a venture capitalist, was kind of a little bit more radical. But it used to look and sound like him. And that ship has sailed a long time ago. Those are the pre-contracted American politicians. Before that, politicians were yeah, they were working with each other. It was kind of like pro wrestling. They're against each other. They get out on stage and say the things against each other, but it's all jockeying for position. And those days are gone, because you have people that, for them, they know that their base is so radicalized that they can't do anything but take an extreme position and stay until toes down on it until it no longer serves them. See Marjorie Taylor Greene if you want to see how that works. um, but yeah, Newt Gingrich is a supervillain. He's the one that he's the one. I'm gonna just say that he's one of those ones. There's always a specific group of people. Like if the news comes down and I hear it, I'm throwing something on the grill. And Newt was kind of in that role, because Newt did a lot of really awful and ugly things to our political discourse in this country. Understanding as a black person, political discourse in this country has never really specifically or narrowly benefited me in any way, shape, or form. It's just the rights that I was granted as a black person have always been kind of conditional, and it's always been tucked in with how can it benefit somebody else who's not you. And that's how civil rights came along. They wanted to keep the country. They were scared that black folks were going to riot en masse after MLK got shot. They're like, we need to calm people down. Direct benefit to them was we have to calm all these angry black people down. Here's legislation. And so I'm cognizant of that fact too. So there's a specific way I'm talking about this. Yeah, okay. I get even during the last years of Obama. McConnell. Okay, I understand that. And it might be a misread on or misremember how I misremembered it. But that was the thing. McConnell held, Dark Money Mitch held the pretty much the entire country hostage. And as a result of Dark Money Mitch holding the entire country hostage, and jamming up the entire confirmation hearings and everything else, he really showed how, and the way that the House and Senate were kind of constructed and seats, he had the unique ability to hold the country hostage with basically being the minority speaker. He refused to take initiative to replace Scalia. Yeah. Julius Caesar said divide and conquer. Yeah, they did. Had real fear of McConnell refusing to replace her seat in the last 2 years of Obama's term. Yeah, I get it, but I mean, holding on to it didn't he got what he wanted either way. And so sometimes you gotta hedge on the things that you can control. And that's all I'm saying. Maximize are so cool. All right. Okay, where are we going with this? That's ionic opinions. There's each character. I'm in the drama said. Maximize are so cool. Oh yeah, we into the DC stuff. Hold that thought, please. There's only two sexes. Right. Straight right, male, and political. Everything else is just everything else is an aberration as far as they're concerned. Context is lost piling up. I'm trying to catch up on conversations here. Yeah, and see, if we had multiple major parties, we would instantly involve. We would devolve. It will be complete quagmire. It will absolutely be it will be insane. Do the Dems need their own Tea Party? I don't think that they do. I think that I think the way, I don't think that hijacking the Dems the same way that the MAGAs hijack the conservatives will yield anything beneficial. Like being toxic on one end, like just because this party's toxic on this end doesn't mean that this other party needs to have this toxic hate takeover either way. But I do think it. Yeah, Tea Party was astroturf. Yeah, that was faker than $3 bill. Yeah, the two options make it sucky. But as stratified as American politics is, having four parties that are major, any one of them could split the vote and win. The way our system is now, this country would turn it and I'm not bad. This country would devolve into civil war. Like we literally just had people storm the Capitol over a two-party election, bro. Like that happened like 6 years ago. I don't know how this country would handle. Oh, well, it's between these three candidates. Oh my God. You say MTG, I say a better example is Charlie. I don't know. Charlie. But Charlie was a racist. And so I'm not surprised about how critical he got of Israel, because when somebody's a racist, I always assume that they're going to, and I'm not Mr. Zionism and all that other stuff. I don't fuck with Israel like that either. But at the same time, there is a level where I think people need to need to draw a line where like, okay, we can be completely against the way Israel does politics and the way that they use their military and all the other apparatuses that they have at their disposal to subjugate people. We can be completely against that and voice our concern about it, but we don't need to use like neo-Nazi talking points. I don't think there's a lot of utility in there because every person that I've met that says like literal and like really like actual real life anti-Semitic shit is also racist and also sexist and also homophobic. And so I don't think Charlie was taking a moral stand. I think he's just a bigot in general. You didn't mix up debaters. I don't think that um he was just a general purpose bigot and he turned into a useful avatar for people who may not align with him but agree. They may not politically align with him in all aspects, but they agree with him about Israel. Person can destroy the planet but dies to a pencil dies. It's a good. I like Saddam Yak. That was my dude, bro. That was my dude when he was a Green Lantern. I think he always got the raw end of the deal because he was a Green Lantern and also had Superman powers. That made him dope. Some big criticism for that. Yeah. And there's a lot of things where I think Obama thought that this country was better than it actually was. And that was the main failing of his presidency. He thought that he could elevate our discourse to something higher. And it didn't devolve because of him. It devolved as this country's immune system kicking in and reacting, overreacting to their racist immune system kicked in, if you will. And the white clan cells, I mean, white blood cells, did not like this person who was black in power. And I know people are like, well, he's half white. Listen, the way it's been broken down is, you know, a black woman can never have a white child, right? That's how race is kind of defined in this country, right? Um, you know, that could never happen. Never happen. And so even if his parents are, even if mom is white and dad is black, he's considered a black person. And this country had a nervous breakdown around him. American from native who looked MAGA passing, who could trick people and listen. That's all right. You'll catch up. And like I said, guys, I don't have a ton of time. Chuck Schumer turned down aid to Israel because I think there's a weird alignment and I think there's a lot of nuance. There's a ton of nuance into the United States relationship with Israel. I'm not a believer that I think the United States is still calling the shots on what Israel does and what they don't do. I think enough economic pressure from the right president who isn't fully compromised by Israel. I think they yield to what that president says. It's the reason why we have blown up Iran before. Like there's a reason why the U.S. hasn't done a full scale invasion of Iran before because Israel's been barking up this tree for years, and they finally got the doofus in place who will absolutely listen to them and will take money to do it and will take any kind of bribery to do it. But I don't think that Israel is where they are controlling the United States. It's the other way around. They do what the United States allows them to do. And so there's a level of accountability that does go up to the top. But understand this. The only reason we haven't been at war with Iran, why we haven't been in war with Iran for all these years is because other presidents said, yeah, we ain't going to do that. And this doofus did. That I think that's the other side. But then also the older Dems are going to have to share power. And they're going to have to give a little bit of ground. I'm catching up a few minutes behind. They're going to have to give a ground and actually legitimately have real conversations about sharing the power that they have instead of trying to consolidate it and have a few power brokers. They're all right about the consultant class ruining the Democrats. The consultant class absolutely did host the Democrats. And if I can find the article, I will post it. They're interviewing people who were inside the Harris campaign and things along those lines, talking about how these consultants were really mercenaries. They didn't care what campaign they were working for. They were just looking for a job. They really did not give a shit about the messaging. They didn't care about anything. They just wanted a job. And so their information wasn't really tied to the heartbeat of what people were actually mad about. And they didn't care. They were just looking for a job. Super mercenary. Look, MAGA said, never underestimate the turtle man, not even when he appears to. Dark Money Mitch, man. What up, what up? People are so angry when they say do more. But when we tell the Dems to do more, basically stop funding things that help Trump. No one who is a sane individual expects revolutionary change from the Democratic Party when they have zero federal power. But I wish that were true. And so this is where my challenge is. I wish a lot of I hate labels. Like I have no use for political labels, right? Like I don't really have use for a ton of the political labels. So when I say that, understand I don't have a ton of use for it. I don't have a ton of utility for political labels. Just follow me on this one. But when the Bernie bro, progressive, leftist, whatever, I need them to actually learn how the political system works. I need to learn how the separation of powers and things that people are allowed to do versus not allowed to do. I need them to understand that because some of the wildest, most harebrained shit I've ever heard regarding our political system comes from there. Well, why can't they do this? Because it's against the fucking law. And it will immediately trigger a constitutional crisis that will go to the court, and it will be this big ball of fuckery that doesn't get fixed anytime soon. And so I need a lot of people that are in the more progressive side of things and on the to actually I know we hate how the political system the outcomes that it's generating. I know that we hate that on a personal level. We think that it's just a barrier to the equality and the society that we want to live in. But I need y'all to actually learn civics about some of this shit. Because some of the wildest, most harebrained takes I've ever seen come from people that are on my side of the aisle. They do not know how this thing works. Why can't they do it? I'm hearing it with the Graham Plattner thing, bro. Like, they're like, well, why the voters of Maine should have another primary. They cannot do that legally. It's in Maine's law. They could probably have a caucus, and that's about it. They can't have another primary. The DNC picks the nominee at this point in time. You can't do another election. If they did another election, that gives Collins room to sue whoever wins that election. If he loses, she can instantly sue and say this is invalid and create an entire cascade of shit. Charlie Kirky. I think, and I understand. I just think that in the I'm trying to tiptoe around this. People need to know how before you can level critiques about what the government should do and what they shouldn't do. You need to know how the laws function and how it's supposed to work and what's legal and what's not. Yeah. Invoking racist statements to deflect transphobic statements. Yeah, Charlie is a real piece of shit. I'm catching up, guys, so I'm gonna blast through these next comments so we can be on, so I can make sure I have everybody stay on here and address everything, and then I got to get out the door. He's more than that. Yeah, Charlie was. I think Charlie was the ultimate grifter. He's not an intelligent man, but he knew how to stoke the fires of discontent within his base. He knew how to play them. He played them like he played them like a piano. Instagram comments is getting complicated. Like I've been probing people. Yeah, people are really good about hiding and Trojan horsing it. I'm cracking from some racist guy in your chat called Obama a bummer. I don't give a fuck about I'm not mad about it. For me, it's just like, oh bummer. Oh no, I don't give a fuck about that. It's corny. This shit is corny to me. That's what I'm saying. Like, oh bummer. That shit is corny, bro. I worked at a really conservative nonprofit, and I saw that shit all the time. I saw the lamest Obama jokes, all the way to the most racist shit that you've ever seen in your life. And Obama was just always like, it was so badly formed that it was just like, yeah, it's stupid. Right, people came here, so definitely get it. Yeah, that's true. And we can talk about evolution and mutation and all the other stuff, but I'm saying in the society that is constructed in America, and that's the one I live in. The way races use the social construct, white people created who is white and who is not white. They created the rules around that. They built an entire society around who is white and who is not white, and that's that, for whatever reason that became the de facto rules that we all live by, right? And for a long time, Irish people weren't considered fully white. Italians weren't considered fully white. Jewish people weren't considered fully white. A lot of immigrant groups weren't considered fully white until they are actually needed, and you wanted to extract capital from them, and then you could extract capital from them, and they were welcomed with open arms into white world. And the way to get into white world was instantly turn against the people that you were marginalized with, and help us subjugate them. And that's how the racial hierarchy system in this country was really built. It's pretty pathetic that we're in 2026 and that's still the way that we frame things, but that's really what it is. That was a rule to clarify who was allowed to be the haves and who was not declared who was allowed to be the have-nots. Right, the Strait of Hormuz. Intelligent presidents knew that the Strait of Hormuz. I'm catching up. The Strait of Hormuz was that was the shut the world down for free button, and that's why they didn't run in. That's why they run up in Iran, because they knew all they got to do is shut it down. And now with drone technology, they could literally sit in the middle of the country and lob drones at the Strait of Hormuz, and there ain't shit we can do about it. They need to shift their over to window more to the left, and that's what they're scared of, because some of them do benefit from right wing policies, and we do have to be transparent about that. We got to call them out for what it is. Yeah, that's the thing. Obama's like, hey, yeah, all right, we're going to attack Iran anyway. Okay, go for it. You're going to have the whole Middle East on your ass if you do that. And you're not going to be able to come to us for help. That's why Israel, like, they found a convenient idiot who they could say, hey, man, Jet, hey, Donald. How did somebody call him earlier? Um, Toupe Fiasco. Hey, Toupe Fiasco. What we're going to do is um, we're going to publish this stuff that Jeffrey sent us, and we're going to just see how the American public reacts to it. He's like, oh, let me get in here and bomb Iran and start a war with them, and then say we're partners with Israel. Bro, it's crazy. They have the leverage over him, and that's what happens when you put in a con man who's had ties to the criminal underworld for decades. That's where you put it. That's what happens when you put him in a political office. Bush was gonna to Iraq. He meant to go to Iran, but got it wrong. Look dumb. Nah, Cheney was the power behind that throne, and Cheney was not gonna let George W. Bush misadventure his ass into Iran, because Dick Cheney knew the consequences, the ramifications of that. What's very common at the local and state party scene in terms of we're here for a job, we get our they suck, and that's why the Democratic Party sucks, because it's the consultant class that's running everything. They got to purge all of these consultants and actually bring in people who are passionate about issues again. The problem with people that are passionate about issues, they're notoriously difficult to work with. And so guess what? You're going to have to coalition build. That's what the Dems are going to have to do. But they can't do, the DSA can't do like a radical takeover, hostile takeover over the Democratic Party, because you're going to completely lose the base. And I don't think people understand that, because the DSA is still overwhelmingly white and the base is still overwhelmingly black, and that's not going to work. You have the power to fund something, you have the power to not fund it. Yeah. And I think Israel, like, I think that they understand that they pretty much know that Trump will do anything they tell him to do. That's the game. And so you have a compromised con man who has had deep ties to the underworld for a long time and has been involved in all kinds of illegal and illicit activities. It's really not hard to get him to do what you want. First, it was Russia that had him in his back pocket, and now, or Russia that had him in their back pocket, and now it's Israel. Um, but at the same time, Israel will do what America allows Israel to do. When Obama first started asking people locations in swing states. Let's see. All right, I'm catching up. Hopefully, I'm catching up on comments here. I heard the expression playing chess with the pigeon. No matter how well you explain the rules of the pigeon, knock the piece over and knock all the pieces over, shit on the board, and strut around like it's one. That's really where our discourse is right now, and that's what Trump is. He's a useful idiot. I think he is. I think at times he's vindictive. I think at times he is malicious. I think most of the time he is. But his default is he is winning the interaction, and that's the ultimate salesman. He's going to win the interaction. Salesmen win the interaction. That's how salesmen sell shit. They win every single interaction they're in, and that's how they're successful. And so he doesn't really have. He's not really tied to anything except his own money book, his own pocketbook, his own lust, and his own greed. And that's really those are his driving factors. How does this benefit me? How do we make money off of this thing? How do I make money off of this thing? And that's his driving factor. That's what motivates him. Complain about how things should be. Just don't expect things. I think that the entire radical action thing. I do think that there needs to be radical change in on the Democratic thing. I just don't think that hijacking the Democratic Party is going to work because you're going to displace a lot of people who have been the stalwarts of the Democratic Party and been giving concessions away to get the bare minimum. And so this is something I'll explain to y'all, and then I'm gonna sign off here. Oftentimes, when Black people are in positions of political power, and some people are different. I'm not gonna broad brushstroke it, but understand this. Oftentimes in this country, we have to compromise what we know is completely best for us, and file it down and find the benefit for white folks. Like essentially, that's how it goes. Like that's how we get this. So there has to be some measurable benefit. Black folks specifically haven't ever received anything that is narrowly beneficial to us that doesn't benefit somebody else, some other demographic group in this country. And from a political standpoint, oftentimes we have to make the pragmatic decision. We have to hold our nose and make the pragmatic decision as opposed to the decision that benefits us the most. And so that informs a lot of how our politics runs and how we organize politically. And so you got to understand that piece of it. Our power is already fragmented as much as possible. They're already trying, the Voting Rights Act getting gutted exacerbated that, where it really did strip a lot of political power out of the strongest coalition, the most consistent coalition in the Democratic Party. And so we have to make concessions, knowing like every time we champion something, we have to make sure that there's going to be enough white people to support it, otherwise it's going to die. And we know that. And so that's how a lot of Black Dems run. And that's why the base of the party is so moderate, because we know that we can't go too far in any one way or the other, because nobody's going to be there to support us. We'll be standing out there by ourselves. All right, let me catch up. I think I've seen that, but I don't know if it's true or not. Can't resist technically semantics. Sometimes I understand that. In America specifically, a white woman can give birth to white babies, but a Black woman can never give birth to a white baby. This is how it goes. And so in this country, if your parents are Black, if one of your parents is Black, you fall into Black. And that's just how it goes. Now, we do have a biracial category. We have people that are biracial and identify as biracial. I understand that. But that's how our society is constructed. And that designation was important because basically we're saying this is who gets treated as a human being, and this is who gets treated as second class citizen. It helped us manage our caste system, our racial caste system in this country. Not connected. Black parts of Epstein are keep. All right, hold on 1 second. I just wonder how connected the black parts of the Epstein files connect to 9/11. There to keep small links and get blacked out. There's a lot of Jeffrey Epstein had his hands in a lot of pots, and so when you go through the files and see the unredacted stuff and the stuff that they were redacted, it connects dots in ways that you never thought possible. You're condemning how they're condemning this shit. That's not really white. They ain't really Christian. I mean, British white kid. Yeah. No, I wouldn't eat cheeseburgers with Joe Rogan. Fuck Joe Rogan. Shelby County was maybe the first official to start down this slide. However, that doesn't count the unofficial slides and practices of this food. Yeah, it's been in the works for years. They've been trying to figure out how to do this for years. They invested billions and billions and billions trying to figure out how to shrink the black vote and make it not relevant on the national stage. And Georgia was the place that they wanted to target the most with it. Georgia was absolutely ground zero for it because they see Georgia as a spoiler for how we got Joe Biden in the White House in the first place. Now, I'm in Nebraska, right? Like I'm in Omaha, Nebraska. They tried their best to get rid, like Omaha, Nebraska is one of the Nebraska and Maine. We split our electoral college votes, right? And so when we say Omaha went blue, Omaha Tech really did go blue. Like that's why they call Omaha the blue dot. There was a specific segment of legislators that they were going to punish Omaha, and basically remove Omaha's vote. They're going to remove our electoral college vote. They're still trying to do it, but some people are like, well, I mean, a lot of the population lives in Omaha. If we make this winner take all, and Omaha does just overperforms in an election, Nebraska will turn blue, and that's not something they want. More than 60% of the population lives in and around the Omaha and Lincoln metro area. And if both places go blue, if we made this a winner take all state, there's a real risk that Nebraska will be essentially a minority rule state. And they don't want it to be like that. And so they decided to allow us to keep our electoral college vote split off. But yeah, I mean, that's really what it was. Yeah, I think we should equate things on your race to your sister. For decades, not years. Race against white people. All right. So I have a child I have to go retrieve from a band event. And so I have to cut out early. I do appreciate y'all. I love this conversation. I can literally sit here and talk to you guys all night about this stuff because this is what I'm passionate about. But I unfortunately have to run. So I'm trying to get everybody's comment on the screen. I do appreciate y'all. Hopefully next week I'll have a little bit more time. Everything just worked against me. But this is a promise and a commitment I keep to myself. And so, and understand this. The thing I will leave y'all with is JoJo specifically. The thing you got to understand is anti-blackness is a global phenomenon, and every country grapples with it. And anti-black racism has a different flavor than other types of racism. It's an extra layer of dehumanization. That's why I was watching Argentina crash out against the world, because everybody's like, don't ask Argentina what happened to all their black people, because they really get in their feelings about it, because they genocided a lot of black folks down in Argentina, and they don't like when you point that out to them. And so anti-blackness is kind of this global phenomenon. And so when you look at it through the lens of racism, you have to understand that anti-black racism is a different strain, if you will. Like there's different strains of the flu. Anti-black racism is a different strain of racism. And it's a global thing. So every country grapples with their own version of anti-black racism. So right, and I think that we're going to see a lot of right wing, like we're seeing right wing movements pop up in Europe, in different European countries all the time, and so I think it's ebbs and flows depending on what the current sentiment is and what the current economy is. Understand that a lot of right wing movements, a lot of fake populist right wing movements, um, are really, that's when the economy sucks and there's economic uncertainty, that's when they pop up, because the people that are loud is saying, hey, those people over there are getting things that they aren't deserving of. Those people over there, that they're the wrong color, look at them, those mongrels over there are getting things that are ours, and it turns into this weird zero sum game. And so when there's economic weakness, that allows a lot of these fake populist, nativist, um, right wing movements to kind of pop up and propagate, because there's always a fall guy to point to. It's the old scapegoat thing. Anyway, I gotta go. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Um, I'm putting your comments on the screen. Uh, it's not gonna happen. Yeah, but there again, there's a specific tenor and form and shape to anti-blackness, and so I can't get into all that stuff. I gotta run. I will talk to y'all later.